really pleased to be part of the Agile Asia Pacific Conference. It is absolutely my pleasure to share some thoughts. A little bit about me. I don't talk much about myself, but I do have a background in software engineering. I was a software engineer right up until about year 2000 from the 1980s. Well, I started using Agile before Agile was a thing, when it was just rapid application design or Scrum. It was before the manifesto, and I used it with clients. We did lots of joint application design sessions. We did lots of feedback sessions, and really that's what it's all about. I am absolutely passionate about working with our stakeholders and teams to make sure that what we're doing in every way provides value. That is what drives me in my career and what I do. Since the last 4, or maybe more like 5 or 6 years, I've been working primarily as a coach and a trainer. Sometimes I go back and actually do some work as an Agile BA or an Agile PM, not just a Scrum Master. There's a lot of stuff I do, not just one thing. And I'm hoping some of my thoughts today have been drawn from the experiences that I have. So I hope it's beneficial and interesting to you. Let me just show my screen, if I can find it. There she blows. Okay, so I'm here to talk about how teamwork and those human qualities that we all possess will never replace AI. So I hope some of the other interesting talks that we've heard today talk about how AI can be leveraged. I'm going to be talking about how we still need teamwork. So here we go. So recently, about a month ago, I worked with a company who dealt with their own specialized software. The software deals with logistics and allows customers to connect to the best option for their business or work requirements in terms of shipping items, whether it's domestic or internationally. They've got their own particular piece of software, and it is quite revolutionary. They've had this particular position in the Australian market for a number of years. But about a month ago, when I was out there, I was a coach, so I've been coaching and working with them to help them improve some of their agile delivery mechanisms. All of a sudden, their APIs stopped working. No one could pick what it was. Initially, we thought straight away something happened on the supplier side. They've changed their API. So that's the first thing we looked into. Not so much. We thought, well, okay, now that we've discounted it's not on their side, it must be on our side. So I said, hey, have we talked to ChatGPT? Have we talked to one of the bots? Maybe we can put some stuff into there and they can diagnose the problem. So sure enough, the lead dev, a guy called Adrian, put some stuff in and ChatGPT came back with a few suggestions. Fantastic. Now we've got a head start. But even talking to Adrian, he's like, hang on, some of this is not even relevant to what we're doing. In fact, half of this is nothing to do with what our particular system does. I said, is there anything here? He goes, well, actually, some of this is quite confusing. I don't think this is really relevant to what we're doing. Meanwhile, every customer who wanted to try to book a new package or a new movement of stock was down. The call center was getting inundated with calls from customers left, right and center saying, we can't book any new movements. And of course, for those who understand, it's this time of year where a lot of trading. I mean, it's Black Weekend here. Christmas is coming. Just had Thanksgiving for those in the US. So we've got a lot going on. So this is a major catastrophe. So the team are urgently trying to look at things, and ChatGPT has not helped. So what do? We talk. We get people together. Everyone in that meeting, as much as it was just a few people, it was about putting our heads together with different experiences. We had business analysts who knew a lot about the process and the business rules. We had the developers. They knew how it was coded. They knew the architecture. And we had the architect. We also had testers ready on hand to try to find ways of working through this problem and getting rid of the problem. And whilst it was stressful and whilst we did a lot of stuff, again, I'm in the background, just to be transparent. I was just the coach and I was really helping them. It was through their teamwork. It was through them communicating. It was through them together sharing their experiences, sharing their knowledge that fixed the problem. And it was actually a last-minute problem because an update was done overnight on one of their PCs that then didn't reconcile. Turned out, if it was rolled back, we were back to fine and everything was done. And actually what happened, the testers went on to test that new software update and make sure some updates were done to ensure that the rest kept working well. So teamwork trumped ChatGPT's suggestion of how to fix this problem. And I'm here to tell you that, yes, ChatGPT and all the other AI services out there are fantastic. So let's share a quick definition of what artificial intelligence means. It's an area of computer science that focuses on creating computer systems capable of performing tasks that would normally require human intelligence, such as learning, reasoning, and decision-making. Okay, that sounds fine, but let's hone in here. Normally require human intelligence. So things like processes, modelling, rationale, deducting, abductive thinking. Okay, you can feed it a chunk of data and it might be really good with that stuff. But AI is all about the intelligence stuff. How about the human stuff? The stuff that AI can never replicate. Not feelings, emotions, those human qualities that inherently make us human. And that's what ultimately builds teams, and those teams ultimately solve problems and deliver value. AI is about, our work as teams is about human interactions. After all, the first principle of the Agile Manifesto is individuals and interactions over processes and tools. Processes and tools. AI. Absolutely fantastic. But individuals interacting and working together trumps those tools and those processes. There's absolutely no doubt in anyone's mind these days that all sorts of AI services out there are an amazingly powerful tool and a tool that needs to be mastered. For example, my partner has all sorts of wonderful power tools outside in the shed, saws and drills and other things. And I thought, you know what? I need some new shelves in my kitchen. There's a whole area that's really quite wasted. I saw the tools. And of course, I went onto YouTube and I watched some videos about how to drill, how to cut, how to install shelves, what to do, how to measure. I'm set, right? I know how to do this. I've got the tools. I've got the YouTube videos. I can follow along as much as the next person. I'm ready to install these shelves. What happens? Well, a big mess is what I can tell you, including an injury to my hand when a drill bit came off and I nearly drilled a hole in my own hand. So tools do nothing by themselves. I have the tool of YouTube, I have the tool of these power tools, but I need a skilled craftsman. I need a skilled tradesman who knows how to use these tools and use them to achieve the results that we want. So when we think about AI, we need to think about Yes, we need skilled craftsmen. And yes, we've got lots of people talking about the skills that you might need to polish up to become a great user of AI. But we still need the human skills that we also need to polish up to make sure we're doing well. So we need to use our human emotional intelligence qualities, not just the tool. Yes, the tool needs to be mastered, but we also need other skills such as relationships, people feeling heard, people feeling valued. As a team, it's nothing by individuals. We need to make sure that we're working together. After all, when we talk about collaboration, the word collaboration is about people exchanging ideas, sharing thoughts, and putting their skills and abilities and knowledge all together and working together, but not just working together, but for a shared and common goal. And that's what will beat AI all the time. So we know that technology does not replace us. Cars have not replaced horses. Horses are still used in all sorts of settings. Calculators don't replace manual calculations. In fact, here in Australia, in the 1970s, when handheld calculators were being introduced for use in schools, math teachers went on a strike. They were outraged. How are these kids ever going to learn maths? They're going to use these calculators. They're never going to listen to us. Well, that hasn't happened. People still have to do manual calculations all the time. We've still got libraries, certainly here in Australia, and in fact, libraries have got a real surgence for being community hubs, areas to exchange information, exchange books. Libraries are going strong. Just because we've got search engines and half the things out there are online, libraries still exist and still are very key in many organisations, many communities. Some organisations even have their own internal libraries, and they are absolutely valuable. And here we are virtually. Okay, we're virtual, we can do stuff, but can you imagine if we're in a room together? I can imagine you're all in my lounge room. I don't know whether you'd all fit. But of course, Zooms and Teams and all these technologies have been an amazing aid in us staying connected despite distance and, of course, the horrible lockdowns of COVID. Technology has definitely enhanced our ability to work together and our world generally, but it doesn't replace us humans. It doesn't replace all the things that we do together. AI is not a human being. AI has a lot of limitations such as bias, such as garbage in, garbage out. And what I mean by that, AI is looking at data, a data set that is, well, we're going to talk about it in a minute, but where did that data come from? How old is it? Can it ration? Can it reason? I don't think so. AI has all sorts of great ability to filter data, but the data that it's filtering is not reliable. It may be out of date. So our superpowers can get over that. It will never replace a human, and it does not replace the superpowers that we have, the superpowers of relationships and bonding. So we're going to look into that a little bit more deeply with some of those superpowers that we have, with which teamwork has and AI does not. Firstly, vision. When I think of vision as a team and collaboration, I just defined it as a shared and common goal. That's the vision that all of us are striving for. All of us are pointing in the same direction to solve that problem, to deliver value, to create some sort of organizational value or stakeholder value. We're all aligned that way. And together we share the value, and we're motivated by creating that value, and we become those value champions together, trying to figure out what is the most valuable thing to do here. We look at the benefits, what benefits our work is doing, whether we're a tester, a coach, a BA, or a project manager. A team has many different facets, but we're all pointing in that same direction of making sure that we're all aligned and pointing to that benefit that's expected from our organisation or our stakeholders. And this vision drives our collaboration, drives everything we do. And as we're prioritising work, as we're going through our backlogs, as we're going through all the stories in Jira, we're using this vision to say, well, what's going to be the most valuable thing to do based on the vision that we've had? And I use the analogy of the lighthouse that you can see on this screen. Just as a lighthouse prevents ships running ashore and being dismantled on the rocks, so it holds up a bright light to warn the sailors, our work, having that shared vision and collaborating, prevents projects running off the rails and not delivering on the right things. So we need to recognise the value that we create together in that shared vision. Objectivity. I've just mentioned that AI is biased. AI is trained on data. Where did that data come from? Who knows? It could be fed in by anybody. I could right now go into ChatGPT and feed it a spreadsheet full of all sorts of random facts or fiction, and it cannot tell the difference. It does not have that objectivity. All it knows is pattern recognition and frequency of that pattern to think about, oh, this looks like the most logical thing. It can only reproduce what's already there. It doesn't create anything new. It's not objective. It doesn't care. It just says, well, this is what the patterns say. This is what the algorithms say. So this is most likely true. And of course, as you feed more in, it reinforces the same patterns, which may reinforce more bias and more incorrect and out-of-date data. As a team, we don't have that problem. We can look at data, we can look at all sorts of facts, and using our logical and systems thinking deductions, we can question everything open-mindedly, asking questions, clarifying and confirming without all that bias. We can become more objective without just relying on who knows what data. We can see facts, we can try experiments, we can talk to people, we can find things out from an open and impartial position, which AI bots do not do. They rely on the data, so it's trained on that data, it's biased and very subjective. Just like a clear window, we can open up the sky to all possibilities. AI does not do that. AI only has its data. Okay, it's a big piece of data, but it's not all, right? Passion. Now, this is a funny one to talk about, but we get up in the morning and we go to work for a reason. Most of us are driven by some sort of hope or dream or passion to make the world a better place. And certainly in many of the teams that I've worked with, that gets them going to deliver the value to the stakeholder. What's the frustration the user's happening? What problems are being faced? And we're driven by a passion to reduce that pain, reduce that frustration. And we can be very persistent and committed to making sure that we remove that problem. It may not always be problems. It may be opportunities. Hey, maybe the marketing department wants an opportunity for a new product. Well, here we are. We're going to help launch it. We're going to help get the word out. We're going to make sure that we can help achieve those opportunities as well as removing problems. So we're driven as a team, a little bit like our vision. We can have that shared vision, but that drives us and that gets us springing out of bed in the morning to say, yes, I'm going to be here to make sure that I'm doing something worthwhile, that passion that we share. AI does not listen. Okay, there's a prompt. no matter which bot you're talking to, which all the tools that we've got, it's not technically listening, it's just waiting. It's an input cursor waiting for something to be put in. Does it listen? No. Does it really focus and concentrate? Well, it's just waiting. It doesn't have that human ability to listen, and not just listen to what the words are, but to actually get the whole 360-degree view of what listening is. It's about picking up those subtle human cues, the wrinkling of the eye, the tension of the jaw, those subtle things that maybe a stakeholder might be saying with their words, but their face and their gestures might be giving us all sorts of other clues. AI can't do any of that. It can't pick up those body language cues that us humans can. Now, is AI focused and concentrated? Well, if you say that a prompt's sitting there blinking away, waiting for us to enter some random question or ideal, but in the meantime, it's doing a whole lot of nothing. So we humans can really listen. And when I talk about listening, I'm talking about listening to really understand what's being heard by the other person, not just picking up words and interpreting and going forward. We're really listening to build that connection and shared understanding. AI does not do that. It just waits for your data. Credibility. Someone, and I'm so sorry, I can't remember who it was, but I did hear a wonderful saying recently about AI. AI is like the best assistant, the best secretary, the best admin person in the world, the person that will do everything for you and is just fantastic in the support that they provide you. But then occasionally that assistant turns up to work absolutely drunk and incoherent. So sometimes they're really great, but every now and again they just go off the rails. So can I trust them in this moment? As a team, we need to discern. Well, here's all this stuff that's been posited by AI as we've entered a question or some sort of ideal. We now need to figure out what's fact or fiction, what is credible and what is not. Are they drunk today or are they being my reliable assistant today? We need to get good as a team to look at that and objectively examine the facts. Is it this actually something we can trust? Can we really base our decisions on this? Again, AI has no ethics. It does not care where the data came from, who it came from. Did it come from a good expert, or did it come from someone who just put stuff in? And remember, anything that goes into AI is used as part of the database. So if we get people in there creating all sorts of incorrect facts, there's none of that. Whereas us as human beings, we can be accountable and transparent about how did we come to this decision? Where are the facts and figures that we've used, and not just what's been put in. A little bit like I've already said. So our credibility, our ability to cite information from real experiences is going to help build trust and credibility for our stakeholders, and that confidence that they need to say, hey, this team knows what I need. This team can do what I need. This team's going to create the value I need. Just like the Rock of Gibraltar, that's the picture that you're seeing there, the Rock of Gibraltar, the biggest rock on Earth, where that steadfast and true source that can weather the storms and stick with our stakeholders, regardless of all the crazy information that might be put to us. Communication. Okay, let's talk about communication from an AI perspective. What it gives us is based on all sorts of data and algorithms. What we put in, it interprets in a dispassionate way. But when I'm talking to my team, my stakeholders, to anybody, we can use our human communication skills using all sorts of words, visuals, and gestures, our hand movements. We can come up together and work on a whiteboard or put some stuff on a sticky notes together, and we can draw diagrams ad hoc. We don't need some computer. We can articulate complex information simply. Yes, maybe AI can do that, but it does not tailor its communication style to mine. Maybe I'm really visual and I put something into AI and it comes back with a whole heap of dot points. But if it was visualized, which you can ask it to do, admittedly, you can ask AI to rephrase information as if you were John Wayne in a Western movie from the US, but it doesn't pick up those subtleties that we do as human beings. In a team, we need to work on, we facilitate conversations. We just like my picture here, it's like a pilot. We navigate our conversations. What's happening? What's being said? What do we need to focus on? What do we need to ignore? We can do this through our human discernment. AI just uses patterns. It doesn't really adjust to our style. We kind of have to adjust to its style. And worst of all, for those who are using or learning to use AI as a powerful tool, which, as I said, it is, it's just a tool, we need to be mindful of what we're putting in. What are we putting into those prompts? Because depending on the words and the structure and some of the ways that we're actually entering the data, it's going to interpret it based on its own bias interpretation rather than what we really intended it to. But if I'm talking to my teammate, we can ask questions and clarify and make sure that we're on the same page. After all, the problem with communication is the illusion that it's occurred. In other words, we need to make sure that communication is not just one word this way and another reply. Communication is all about coming to a shared understanding. AI just puts it out there and hopes for the best and says, good luck with that. Bye. There's none of that checking in to make sure that we're all on the same page. Presence. Oh, here's a lot of cliches coming your way. The most precious gift we can offer others is our presence. This is from Thich Nhat Hanh, a Vietnamese Buddhist monk. This inspires me every day. This is one of the things that gets me out of bed. People often forget what you say. People often forget what you do, but people will very well remember how you made them feel. That's another quote from the human rights activist Mary Aglo, and I'm terrible with names pronunciation. So AI is not a presence. It's not human. It's a whole bank of computers. It's not a presence at all. So our presence with each other and our stakeholders allow people to feel and understand that there's this connection, not just, data interpretation. We're actually got some sort of ability to say, well, we're coming together here. We're actually going to look at our human emotions and thoughts and come together about something. And when we're present with each other, we stay in the moment to really feel, really focus and train our attention on the other person. Okay, as I mentioned, AI's got a prompt sitting there, but is it a presence? Well, it's a lot of ones and zeros. It's not a human there. So our presence can make sure that each other as part of the team, we can feel heard and cared about. And so do our stakeholders, the people that work with our teams. They feel like we're understanding them and making sure that their concerns and ideas are not being ignored. One of the greatest human skills we can offer another is empathy. Empathy is that deep understanding and concern about someone else. It's that ability to put ourselves in other people's shoes and holding that space, to be able to, as they say, climb down and actually be with someone, not offer advice, not say, I'm sorry, but actually truly say, I'm so glad that you've shared that with me. I know that must have been difficult, but I'm glad you've told me. So when we talk about empathy, we quite often say that we need to walk a mile in someone else's shoes. But of course, to do that, we must take off our own shoes before we put theirs on. And that's that whole ability to really be there in the moment with somebody else. AI is a cold machine based on data. It does not care. It has no ethics or empathy. Never going to happen, I don't think. I've heard people talk about this stuff, that they can start mimicking this stuff, but that real ability to understand humans, I think it's a human-to-human experience, and it's never going to be from any other perspective. Curiosity. Well, they say curiosity killed the cat. I say only that the cat died nobly. That's from Arden Edinburgh. He's a journalist. I love this quote. It's one of my famous quotes, and I use this all the time when I'm talking to teams and talking to people one-on-one. Let's get curious about things. And something about curiosity is not just like, oh, that's interesting. It's that desire, that thirst, that want to, oh, what is that? But I want to know more. I know this much, but I need more. I need to understand. And we need to question everything. That's what teams can do. We question each other. We question what's in front of us. We question around us. And something I really hone in on when I'm working with teams is this ability to develop what I call beginner's mind. It's an old concept. It comes from the Vedas and from ancient scripture. Beginner's mind is that ability to drop assumptions, drop our facts, drop our perceptions, and see things as if they were the first time. So imagine this. You're walking along with your child or your grandchild or a child anywhere. They may be about 3 or 4 years old. And we come up and we see an amazing amusement park with roller coasters and carousels and all sorts of crazy rides. The child has never seen something like this before. How does that work? How come the people don't fall out? How does that thing work? Why does it do that? How does it stop? How does it start? Lots of questions. I've never seen it. So the questions are a million miles an hour trying to understand what is this amazing thing that we've just seen. But after about the 4th or 5th or 10th time we've seen something, oh yeah, it's a park. Oh. Well, beginner's mind is actually not doing that. Beginner's mind is saying, even though we have seen an amusement park 4, 5, or 10 times before, imagine it's the first time and approaching something with that same wonderment, that same what's going on here. And tapping into that curiosity is something that as a team we can do. AI, whatever you put in, it's not asking questions. It doesn't come back and say, hey, I noticed that you put stuff in here. Do you really want to learn more about this or that or that? AI doesn't do any of that. Last I looked, AI pretty much does not ask questions unless prompted. Whereas us humans, we can tap into that inner child, that inner curiosity of a cat, that inner 3-year-old that looks at everything as if it was the first time, dropping that preconceived notions that we have and really trying to dig deeper, that thirst to learn more, to really confirm, verify, and explore. And one of our best team-based superpowers is awareness, mindful awareness or mindfulness. Now, when we talk about mindfulness, there's lots of interpretations, but really it's just an awareness. The awareness comes in 2 types. Awareness of ourselves, that inner awareness. What's going on between my ears? What's happening in this beautiful brain of mine? What am I feeling? What am I thinking? What am I judging? How am I seeing things? So being aware of what's going in ourselves, but also being aware of what's happening out there with our teammates, out there with our stakeholders, out there with the work that we're doing. And the ability to withhold judgment and just observe and see it exactly as it is without those clouds of illusions or perceptions over us. Awareness is also deliberate attention. We can deliberately pay attention to anything. Actually, as a human, that's something that we can do at any stage. The analogy I use is, imagine there's a pitch black room. You can't see anything. It is totally black. But in your hand, you have a flashlight. And when you turn the flashlight on, a beam of light extends into that dark room. And when you're doing that, you can choose to maneuver that beam of light to any part of the room. There's a chair, there's a desk, there's a table, there's a picture on the wall. I can move the flashlight anywhere I like in that dark room, and where that beam of light shines is illuminated. Well, our attention, what we choose to pay attention to or not, is completely in our control in the same way. We can choose to be listening to me right now, which I hope that you are. Maybe some of you have choose to pay your attention to your family or friends. Maybe you're on your mobile phones. Perhaps you're writing an email right now. That's your choice. Your attention is your choice. But when we think of mindfulness, we can choose deliberately where our attention goes. So that means we're continuously aware of what is my attention? What am I paying attention to right now? What should I be paying attention to? And then direct my attention to where it needs to be, just like that beam. Mindful awareness also allows us to be clear, calm, and open in any situation. I always think of this concept of reaction versus response. When we react to something, it's almost like an out of control knee-jerk reaction. If you were looking at a doctor's surgery and they're testing your reflexes, they put a little hammer in your knee or your elbow just to get this kind of automatic response. You have no control over that. And that's that reaction response that sometimes you might be aware that we do as humans. Someone says something, we see something, and before we know it, we've blurted out something or we've started doing something, and we're barely aware that we're just reacting to the situation. Mindful awareness allows us to pause, to observe, to think, what have I just seen, and what's the best course of action now? And what is the best response to the situation? Not that knee-jerk reaction. So we can approach situations with clarity, without all those confusion. We can see things with some sort of dispassion, see things as they are and say, okay, now let's choose the most beneficial thing to do going forward. So here are our superpowers. If your job is nothing but putting code in or writing documentation, if that's all you do, coming up with code and doing automated tests, well, AI may or may not replace you. But AI will never replace those superpowers that I've talked about that come from true teamwork and true human powers. So these are the skills that are for the future. These are the skills you need to hone, as well as learning AI, as well as learning how to use AI as a powerful tool that will enhance your work and perhaps give you a lot of head start into some complexity. But these superpowers are the ones that you need to work on to make sure that you're never going to be replaced by an AI bot. Stakeholder engagement, teamwork, true care and empathy, these are things that will never be replaced by AI.